Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with Africa Speaks. Right now, we want to focus on a conversation about regional peace and security, East Africa region in particular. We've seen that year-long civil conflict in Ethiopia's Tigray region and in South Sudan as well. Just to talk about what kind of triggers it has in the region, and what are the security priorities that we have in the region in light of this, as well as diplomatic priorities as well. And to have this conversation, I'm joined in studio by Professor Noah Midamba, who is a former Vice Chancellor at KCA University here in Kenya, and he's also an expert in defense and foreign policy. So thank you very much for joining me in studio, Prof.
Thank you, Sharon,
yes.
And thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Let's just begin with the kind of effects that we are seeing in the region in terms of the conflicts that we are seeing on Kenya's north. How is it affecting us as Kenya and the region?
Sharon, let me give the big picture.
Yes, please.
That's around what we're talking about. Kenya at this point is an island. It's the only peaceful state that is left in a really troubled region. From sea to sea, Somalia, and then Ethiopia, then Uganda has issues with Rwanda and Congo that is going on. And then you go into Tanzania, which historically has been remarkably quiet.
Mm-hmm.
There's trouble in southern Tanzania, in Mozambique, and that is not by Islamists, mm-hmm. and that's not settled. How many of them are infiltrated in Tanzania and potentially will create trouble? Now, the Ethiopia is actually the biggest threat right now for the entire region, mm-hmm. and also for the continent of Africa.
Right.
Ethiopia is the second largest country in Africa. Ethiopia is the headquarters of the AU, mm-hmm. African Unity, and also the UN. Most of UN activities mm-hmm. take place in Addis Ababa. Ethiopia, from the beginning, when we got our independence, has been a friend of Kenya, really a stabilizing force. Mm-hmm. At this point, Ethiopia is involved actively involved in Somalia as part of a stabilizing force in that region.
Right.
Ethiopia has the second largest population in Africa. Imagine, and a lot of ethnic groups. And therefore, Ethiopia coming apart together will actually overwhelm Kenya, because you're not talking about a few hundreds refugees crossing the border, but you are talking about thousands, even 1 million. And if you Kakuma, our refugee center right now will be overwhelmed.
Sure.
And then the entire region, as Ethiopia fragmented into different ethnic groups and fighting each other, will impact everybody. One of the things that Ethiopia recently is doing is the Renaissance Dam. Renaissance Dam has the potential to provide electricity need for the entire Ethiopia and the neighboring country, Sudan, Djibouti, even Kenya. And we know that Egypt and Sudan have not settled their differences with Ethiopia. So the potential of a gamble to destroy that dam will really destroy development in East Africa, in particular in the Horn of Africa. You're looking at, just say, peace and security equal development. If you take that away, you have nothing but chaos. And chaos leads to destruction and fragmentation. And so therefore, the President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is now serving as a major regional voice, has to be actively involved with United Nations, the US, Britain, all the power to do, and and speak loudly about peace and security in Ethiopia.
Right.
And that is, if we relieve the president from all this squabble, political squabble in our area, you know, so that the president can rise to a level that he's become a regional spokesperson. That's what we need.
Critical.
Very critical at this time.
And are you convinced that this far, since that civil conflict began in Ethiopia, that as a region, and even globally, we saw the U.S. Secretary of State also in the region recently addressing that issue. Are you convinced that we have done enough and a lot has been done to help Ethiopia rise from this conflict?
I don't think so. I think that there is good intention by the U.S., good intention by Kenya, good intention by the African AU, particular Obasanjo, former president of Nigeria, is doing a subtle movement. But there is something going on in Ethiopia, which is unique to some of the problems we have had in Africa. There seems to be a really personal issue between Prime Minister Abiy and what's happening in Tigray. Prime Minister Abiy, as we know, served in the government, Ethiopian government, that was dominated by the Tigrays. Prime Minister Abiy is a military man, and he's also a specialist on intelligence. He has decided to do something that in recent memory leaders don't do. He went to the front, you know, and willing to give his life for what's going on. This is the kind of thing that happened in old Europe or even in Africa. People like Saka Zulu will lead in the fight, and Europeans with their swords and horses, and Japanese, Chinese, they did that. That doesn't happen now because there are two things will happen.
Right.
One is this going to end up in a serious disarray, historical disarray, which will create the biggest problem, as I say, for Africa as a whole, not only East Africa. If anything happened to Prime Minister Abiy in the front, if he's able to succeed, because at least he has appealed to his ethnic group and he's appealed to most of other Ethiopians, that this war is life and death for the country. And if he's able to win the war and at least get the Tigray back to their zone and settle this peacefully at the end, he will become a major hero in Africa. At this time, for me, based on my analysis, is that it's a very, very risky, serious gamble. We don't know where it's going to go.
Right. And just talking about Kenya and Kenya's own interests of security development, are there costs that we felt so far from the conflict that we're experiencing with our neighbors? Well,
there is significant impact for Kenya. As I said, Ethiopia has been a friend of Kenya from the beginning. Haile Selassie and Jomo Kenyatta were very good friends. And from there, we have had, you know, administration after administration, a very good cordial relationship with Ethiopia. The LAMSET project we're building was purposely built to connect Ethiopia and South Sudan. And we have invested significantly in that project. So then that will come be on hold. Our largest company, Safaricom, just signed a deal in Ethiopia and move its people and ready to go. Now that will come to a halt. Ethiopia was building their economy at roughly about 6%, which is one of the highest in the continent of Africa. And therefore offer Kenya a potential market for our manufactured and goods being sold to Ethiopia. So the trade between Kenya and Ethiopia was significantly positively going to impact this country. So now that is gone. So we are looking at the eye of a major catastrophe if it is not avoided.
Fantastic. And finally, I know we have to wind up. What then becomes the next steps for Kenya? And you were speaking earlier about how keen we are on the relationship between Kenya and Somalia.
Yeah. Kenya must not wink an eye on Somalia. I made a statement earlier that the president in his early morning brief must have something about Somalia every single day. The reason why I'm saying is our enemy, which is number one, Al-Shabaab, is watching everything.
Yes.
And these people work very well in chaos. Whenever chaos happens, that is the opportunity. We have seen these three young men break out of, in a really tragic way, break out of prison. And, you know, like good Samaritan, a Kenyan, I said, when you see something, say something. And because of that, we are able to capture them and return. But they're communicating. And the worst thing is that they are communicating through our security system. So we're weak. You know, we cannot be sure what is going to happen. And therefore, we constantly need to guard and watch very closely in Somalia. Kenya need to bring the entire East Africa together as a matter of agency in terms of security. The African standby force need to be ready, you know, to join and help East Africa.
Yeah.
All these things require leadership.
Right.
And therefore, I'm saying we must relieve our president to play the role of leaders, to lead that we need to do instead of domestic squabble
Prof,
that we have.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your thoughts this afternoon and for your time. Very enlightening indeed.
Thank you.
Professor Noah Midamba speaking to us about regional security, peace and security. Let's take some more updates here now. And adoption of clean energy was one of the agenda